everyone. Welcome to the Triangle here. David Huffman, Dan Kenny, TJ Hopkins. We got 4 topics on pad for today. First is the shocking trade of LeSean McCoy for Kiko Alonso. Now, you understand, I guess, Kiko Alonso, runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. But now, he's coming off an ACL reconstruction, and LeSean McCoy had a down season, but I don't know if you... I guess give up on him.
It's 1,300 yards, a down
That's
season.
A down season.
It's a down season compared to what he was expected to do, I guess.
Well, because I get what you're saying, because the year before he rushed for near 1,700 yards, which
led the league in rushing.
He's widely considered to be a top 2, top 3 running backs in the NFL, and in the NFL, we're not really used to seeing big trades, big name players get traded like that.
Especially one-for-one deals like that.
It's more frequent in NBA and even, I guess, baseball, but in the NFL, it's rare to see. And then giving up one of the best players at its position, LeSean McCoy, you know, like a key focal point to your offense for someone who's played 1 year and didn't even play last year because he got hurt. It's kind of fuzzy.
I don't understand. Like, if you're like, I guess people have said that Chip Kelly wasn't happy with that contract. He said it doesn't give them enough flexibility. But if that's the case, why would you trade for somebody who's coming off of that particular injury, like almost like a career-ending injury in an ACL reconstruction? And why wouldn't you just try to get picks or or include him in a Marcus Mariota deal?
Exactly.
Like, I'm sure like one of those, like the Jets now, they don't have a running back. You don't think that if you included McCoy and maybe like a first-round pick this year, maybe a second-round pick this year, you couldn't have gotten that pick?
Or maybe they're predicting Mariota won't last around that long. Even though the Jets do have the 6th pick, like maybe.
But a lot of those teams near the top need a running back. Like you could talk to Tennessee, like call up Tennessee, be like, yo, we'll give you McCoy, we'll give you our first-round pick, and we'll give you a second-round pick, and you give us that second pick overall. Like, why wouldn't you make these phone calls? Why wouldn't you try to get these picks? Like, why would you trade for somebody who might not be back to fully 100%?
Let me try and make some sense out of this. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I feel Chip Kelly has a plan. Why would someone give up LeSean McCoy, one of the best running backs in the NFL? The reason is because for Kiko Alonso. The reason is Chip Kelly knows Kiko Alonso. He's coached Kiko Alonso. Chip Kelly has some weird mad scientist plan that he's constructing in order for...
So you mean to tell me his plan is to bring Oregon University to the NFL because on his, his roster right now 9. He coached like 9 players on his roster play for him at Oregon.
Yeah, I know that's the comical thing to say, the Philadelphia Ducks. That's really funny. But that's what a lot of college coaches do. Jimmy Johnson did the same thing when he came from college to the NFL.
That worked out pretty good.
But it worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
But who's to say this won't work?
But the other thing is, the big thing is that Jimmy Johnson also had a great quarterback to go with it. So, like, I don't know if he's got that franchise guy at the moment. I mean, Nick Foles is a nice player, but I don't know if he's franchise changing.
Yeah, well,
it almost seems like the Eagles have almost given up on him before he even really got a chance. Like, he had that one breakout season, and then he was, like, injured a lot last year.
It was like half a season.
Yeah, and then the Eagles seem like they're giving up on him. Like, they want to make this big, these moves.
It's like they do that with their quarterbacks all of a sudden. Like, they did it with Mike Vick. Like, Mike Vick had a breakout season. And then he, like, the following year, he's full-time started, and he gets hurt. Then they put in Nick Foles, who has a breakout season. And then you give him a full season. It's not what they expected. I'm like, yeah, like, playing 16 games is a lot different than playing 8. So.
Okay, but who's to say necessarily that they're giving up on Foles? Have you heard any Eagles management saying, oh, Foles isn't the guy, or we're getting Mariota for sure? No. This is just speculation. This is what people are assuming they're going to reach for Mariota. That's not in the cards at the moment.
Are you saying that because you're an Eagles fan?
I'm completely objective.
Completely objective.
I don't know about all that, but I think I like the problem is their offense is based, like, are they going to just plug and play? They can plug and play anyone to replace LeSean McCoy? Like, let's say they lose Maclin, too. Like, their starting receivers are going to be...
Riley Cooper.
No.
Jordan Huff and Jordan Matthews.
Let me make something clear. The Eagles have $50 million to spend after all the acquisitions, all the releases that they've made in the past 2 days, past 48 hours. We did this in order to re-sign players like Jeremy Maclin, outside linebacker Brandon Graham. And then we have so much more money to play with. It's a deep receiver market. There's also a couple good edge rushers that are out there. Eagles are trying to build defense first, and then we're probably going in the draft. I won't be surprised if we address defense too, because this is look at Seattle, look at New England. They are strong defensive teams. The Eagles are trying to replicate that. Their offense is set. We don't need to commit all this money to offense because nearly so many players can play in the Eagles offense in the Chip Kelly system and be successful. So we're trying to build around defense.
You're just basing that off a college experience, like where the defensive players aren't nearly as good as they are in the NFL. So it's not a guarantee that you can plug any player in anywhere and like it's gonna be a productive offense.
The past 2 seasons beg to differ. The Eagles
how do they beg to differ? They have one of the best running backs in the league, and they have Jerry Maclin, who's a top 5 running back.
Well,
whenever Jerry Maclin
led the league in offense. All right, the Eagles since Chip Kelly's been in the NFL. Head coach of the Eagles have led the NFL in offense. That's a fact. And it seems like, and we've had different quarterbacks and different running backs and different receivers in our system, and it's all been successful. So, based off those 2 years, I can't see anyone that'll tell me that the Eagles won't be successful on the offensive side.
But they've
of the
never
ball.
been without McCoy, and I think McCoy is the straw that stirs that drink for that offense. And like LeSean McCoy was the offense, like he was like
offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that they ran was based on the fact that LeSean McCoy.
No, he's not Matt Forte to the Bears.
Yes,
they don't.
Yes, he is. Are you kidding me?
Forte accounted for about near 40% of the Bears' total offense. Shady McCoy was not near that number last year.
LeSean McCoy is as important
that production
to
with them
the
because
Eagles
they signed
as it
Darren
was for the
Sproles.
Bears.
That's specifically what they signed Darren Sproles for, to help him carry that load. Like second and short, third and short. You didn't see McCoy, you saw Darren Sproles. So that's why he brought him in.
I think the Eagles did a good job of keeping the defenses guessing on who they're going to put in at which play, who they're going to hand the ball off to. That's the brilliance of the Eagles offense. And then Chris Polk actually played pretty well. He was a huge carry guy, took a lot of loads in Washington, and now, he's done okay in the NFL. The Eagles have a lot to play with now. Who's to say that their offense won't work?
And their defense is obviously going to improve. If you got a guy who's as good as Kiko Alonso when healthy, your defense is going to get a little better.
Yeah.
And not to mention he can basically be the quarterback of that defense from now on. Like you're basically going to get a starter for about 10 years. When a running back, maybe the shelf life on a running back's not nearly as long.
Oh, it certainly is. And let me tell people something about Kiko Alonso that they don't know. Kiko Alonso is great against the run and also great against the pass. With teaming up with Michael Kendricks at inside linebacker, this could give the Eagles the quickest middle linebackers in football. I don't think San Francisco with Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis are going to be together too much longer. I feel like the Eagles now have the fastest and most athletic core of inside linebackers, and that may just propel them to greatness.
All right, so now we're going to move on to NFL free agency in general. So we got some big names out there, the big names of people that are going to be signed to big money. It all depends on who seems to give them that money. We got players like Ndamukong Suh, Jeremy Maclin. So how do you guys feel about the atmosphere
The crop?
surrounding? How is this crop of free agents compared to like seasons in the past?
All right, well, I'm going to address certain positions. This is 1 weak quarterback crop for free agents. The best
quarterback already got signed. Like Josh McCown, like he's probably the best quarterback.
Yeah, then you got guys like biggest question marks, Jake Locker, and then you got Sanchez, Brian Hoyer.
Don't call him that.
He is the Sanchez.
God.
But Brian Hoyer, Jake Locker, and Ryan Mallett, and that's kind of like your top.
Ryan Mallett's going to be a Texan probably. I can't imagine them letting him go.
Oh, they weren't too eager to play him as soon as he.
Well, he got
became
injured.
traded.
Well, he got injured too. Like when he did start, he played well. So he's gonna. I guarantee he's gonna be a Texan.
Okay,
But where this free agency class really shines is on the defensive line. There are like Ndamukong Suh is going to get paid crazy money, and he deserves to get paid crazy money. Like he's got a lot of head case issues, but when he's got his mind right, he is probably one of the best defensive players in the league, up there with J.J. Watt.
I heard something that Suh wants to be the highest paid player on the defensive side of football ever.
The problem with like giving defensive tackles that kind of money is that they usually end up getting paid and then eating their way out of the league.
Albert Hainsworth.
There are a lot of other instances where not just that one where they've gotten paid.
He's the big one.
They've gotten paid and then they've eaten their way out of the NFL.
I mean, watch out for Nick Fury for that because he's already got a couple extra pounds on him over his competition. I feel Nick Fury, the Lions got to retain one of these 2 D tackles at least. You can't spend 2 first-round draft picks, top 11 draft picks on defensive tackles and then lose both of them the same.
I think they'll keep Fairley. I don't think they'll keep.
I don't think they'll keep Sue.
It's not that he's not a good player. It's first of all that Nick Fairley's going to be a lot cheaper, and he's going to be less of a basket case because Ndamukong Suh has
Fairley has some issues though. Fairley has some
but he doesn't.
His
issues don't project onto the field.
The way
Sue gets suspended all the time for stomping and all kinds of different things.
Nick Fairley doesn't get in trouble for stomping on players, for slamming quarterbacks on their head and all
but
this other unnecessary
he's very
stuff.
Inconsistent. Fairley is. Fairley also has work ethic issues. You cannot tell me Ndamukong Suh has work ethic issues. He busts his butt every single play he's out on the field. He is one of the hardest working players on the field that I've seen this past year. But he gives it 100% every single play.
But it also brings the question, like, is he just working towards getting paid the big money and then he'll just shut down?
Or is it for the love of the game?
There's a lot of that goes on when you decide if you want to sign a free agency or not. Like, they're gonna have the interview process and then they'll figure out if it's worth giving the money to.
To be honest, I feel like the best option for both parties is to mutually just split ways.
Yeah. The thing with the Lions is they have Stafford and Kelvin Johnson under contract. Those are mega contracts. It's just hard for me to envision that Sue demands a mega contract. It's just going to be hard for me to visualize that they have these 3 ginormous contracts on their team.
And I don't see either.
That could hold them back in the long run.
And to me, I don't see either Megatron or Matt Stafford restructuring their contract.
No, why would they?
So they can keep Sue. So that's exactly why I say
those guys have earned the money that they're about to get.
That's why I say Sue, they need to part ways.
So another big question is about the Eagles, because we were just talking about them, and Jeremy Maclin is a free agent. And there's been a lot of conversation that they haven't even really been involved in a lot of conversation between the Eagles and Jeremy Maclin. Mm-hmm. They haven't had a lot of conversation. Are the Eagles going to let him go?
The Eagles will not let Jeremy Maclin go. He was top 10 in the NFL in receiving yards and yards after the catch. He is a very key component to the Eagles' offense. Some people say he's the best number 2 receiver in the NFL. Newsflash, he's actually a number 1 receiver. He's proven that this past season he's played like a number 1 receiver. The Eagles, I feel that they made these offseason moves, cutting veteran players such as Trent Cole and Kerry Williams and trading away LeSean McCoy, all to keep and hold on to Jeremy Maclin, because the Eagles cannot lose Jeremy Maclin.
And then I know he's not a free agent, but Andre Johnson has been allowed to seek out a trade. If you were Andre Johnson, where are you going? Where do you want to go?
Somewhere with a quarterback.
New England.
Jinx, you owe me a soda.
Oh my God.
Yes, he should go to New England.
2 sodas.
Yeah, but if he goes to New England, he'll instantly he'll be on a team that can compete for a title this season. Andre Johnson's not a number 1 receiver anymore.
I can see him going to the Colts.
In my opinion. Yeah, I guess
I
guess it depends on what happens with Reggie Wayne.
San Francisco.
Reggie Wayne retired?
Reggie Wayne retired.
San Francisco. I didn't hear that. I'm gonna have to double check that. I'm not sure if that's.
I'm not gonna confirm that information either.
Yeah, I feel like I would have heard that already. The San Francisco 49ers have a tendency of grabbing big name receivers that might be out of their prime, such as Stevie Johnson, Brandon Lloyd over the past couple of years, Randy Moss even.
Anquan Bolden.
Yeah, Anquan. So I can see Andre Johnson fitting in with their team. Because
I just think they have so many receivers they don't really need. And they have their own issues with Crabtree. I think Crabtree's a free agent too.
He's leaving.
No way, no way. They're gonna find a way to re-sign him. There's no way they let him go. If they let him go,
there's no way San Fran let Crabtree go.
There's no way. There's no way they let him go. No way.
I can see that.
I can see him, but
who would play receiver for them if they lose him? Anquan Bolden I'm pretty sure is a free agent, and they would use Stevie Johnson as well. Same thing. I think Brandon Lloyd as well.
They're already gone.
All of those guys are gone. So who's going to play receiver for the?
Anquan might still be there.
There's a deep receiving core in this upcoming draft. You go get one.
Yeah.
I think you keep Michael Crabtree.
You go get one.
Michael Crabtree and Colin Kaepernick are both healthy, they both produced a big time way. Like they were both on the team when they went to the Super Bowl. He's had a big contribution. There's no way I just can't believe they would let him go.
I admit that it was a real weird year for the San Francisco 49ers, just all over the board. So I'm not going to judge them based on last year, but I feel like the cream of the crop in this wide receiver class is Randall Cobb. From sources I've heard that he is not staying in Green Bay. Green Bay tried working out a deal with him, and like they were close, but the numbers just did not fit what Randall Cobb wants. He might be getting paid over $10 million a year.
Randall Cobb, I think he's going to be the highest paid receiver in this free agent class. Like nobody's going to get higher paid than him. I'm not saying he's going to be the highest paid receiver in the league, but out of this crop of free agent receivers, he will be the highest paid.
Two teams that are really looking at Cobb and that can offer him a lot of money. Really weird teams, but Jacksonville Jaguars and the Oakland Raiders.
Well, both those teams that just have an insane amount of cap room, and because of the way the rules are set up now, you have to spend your money. You can't just keep it. Yeah.
My question is, does Randall Cobb want to play on these teams that just seem so far?
Well, if he goes to neither of those teams, he will be with a young quarterback who he can kind of grow with a little bit, take what he kind of learned from Aaron Rodgers and apply that to maybe teach the new quarterback.
But if you caught balls from Aaron Rodgers, why would you want to catch him from anywhere else? You have essentially have what everyone wants. You got your hardware. You got your championship ring. Why would you leave that?
As a Bear fan, I want him out of here. I want him to go away. I want him
product.
I want him to go anywhere else.
How you spoke about Kaepernick and Crabtree? That's Rodgers and Cobb. Them two right there. They can just look at each other and you know what the hell they're gonna do.
TJ, let me answer your question. The reason why Cobb would leave Green Bay is because the money. The money makes a difference.
And as Mr. May says, you follow the money.
You have to follow the money. He already won his championship ring. Look at Golden Tate. He won his ring in Seattle, and then he went
to Detroit, where he could still win a title. It's not like he went to Jacksonville, where he's going to be.
Yeah. Those two teams are probably the farthest behind. I'd say probably any other team in the NFL in terms of talent.
All right, so now we're gonna switch topics a little bit. I think we covered enough on the NFL free agency.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about the amount of physical play that's been going on in the NBA lately. Even though the Rockets and Cavaliers, they got into a bunch of scuffle.
Oh, yeah.
Wizards and the Bulls last night, they got into it because those teams just flat out don't like each other. And then there was Miami Heat and the Phoenix Suns. And I think that whole thing was because of Gordon Dragic, because those teams don't have any history and they don't have any rivalry history. There hasn't been they haven't never played in a championship.
And let me give one more example. Festus Ezeli and Tyler Hansbrough got into a fist fight a couple days ago, and
so my question for you is: the physical play like that good for the NBA?
I'll let you take this, TJ.
I say yes, a big yes, capital Y, capital E, capital S, yes. Because it's what the game is lacking. Anytime, you can't get close to it. As a defender, you can't get close to an offensive player anymore without that. Without refs choking on the whistle. And some players get certain calls, and some players don't. If you get up and close and physical with LeBron, bet money that ref is blowing his whistle. So I feel like physical play, it needs to come back. It's necessary. It's like the fans like it. When the fight, when the quote unquote fight happens, when the little scuffle happens, when players get in each other's face, fans love it. They thrive, and it ignites the
Unless
team.
the fans getting punched in the face, by Marcus Smart.
If this was 25 years ago,
why are you bringing up old stuff? That's water.
If this was 25 years ago, we're not even having this conversation because the NBA used to be full of physical play and those Celtic teams were notorious for being overly physical.
The bad boys.
Yes, all of that. That's
Are you serious?
That's when the NBA was at its quote unquote at its peak and its prime. And a lot of people, the reason that people don't like the NBA is because they call their athletes soft and they don't they can't even touch them without these fouls. That's why a lot of people are oh, hockey, look at these men getting into big brawls
missing their teeth and
so the NBA. I think the good physical play is really good for the NBA. Really good for the NBA. So I think they should continue maybe not encourage it, but embrace it a little bit.
All right, Dave. I know you said 25 years ago this wouldn't be even talked about. Well, newsflash. There's different economic issues. Things are different now than what they were 25 years ago. Certain violence is not okay. It used to be, more acceptable, I guess, back then, but during 2015, you can't get away with this. Hitting another player, I don't know. I don't like seeing that. I don't like seeing people get hurt. I just want to watch players play the game of basketball.
I will agree with you in certain aspects. Like I don't want to see like hockey fights in NBA. Like
Oh, no,
like I'm not talking about like I'm
that.
talking about when I see the puck drop and all of the players on the ice just start brawling with each other. Like
I'm
can you
not
imagine?
talking about- I'm not talking
Can you
about
even
that
imagine
either.
if that happened in the NBA?
It would be
Like if they
hilarious.
threw the ball up for the opening tip and then all 5 players just win at it. Like
That would be hilarious.
I think for the people that want to watch this this brawling, this fight, go and turn on the UFC. It's a great sport. I love watching the UFC, but there is a huge difference between the UFC and basketball. I want to watch players play basketball when I watch the NBA. I don't want to watch them fight. And also, yeah, I get what you're saying. It kind of slows down the game even, getting fouled and having the ref. The game's already slowing down a bit.
But I think some element of the physical play in the NBA is good. Like I like the rivalries, like like those kind of like heated moments where you can kind of see like these two teams don't like each other. Like it kind of fuels like
Or it doesn't even have to be-
fuels the conversation about the rivalries and what these teams are playing for.
Or it doesn't even have to be like rival teams. It could just be players on that team, like Kevin Garnett, Dwight Howard, hate each other.
Yeah.
Can't stand the sight of each other. But I feel like if those two are like to actually fight, like
Bringing up Kevin Garnett, did you see the thing about Austin Rivers with
Yeah.
him and Austin Rivers getting into it?
Yeah,
see,
he
look at
threw,
that, like-
he threw a bow at Austin Rivers, left a huge welt on the guy's forehead.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable. Like I feel like geriatrics are okay, like Lance Stevenson blowing in LeBron's ears, people,
That's just
talking,
irritating.
gabbing, that's fine, doing their own geriatrics, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But actually putting your hands on a player and causing physical harm,
So
that's kind of where
hand checking is causing physical harm.
I'm not saying hand checking is causing physical harm. I'm saying shoving someone and
Because they consider hand checking, like that's a foul.
He's talking about like Hassan Whiteside's wrestling move the other night. He's like,
a hip toss. Yeah. Hand checking, certain fouls, like, okay, that's not really what I'm addressing right now. What I'm addressing,
he's talking about like legitimate like dirty plays,
like Nene karate chopping.
Like I wasn't going at that. I'm talking about like physical defensive play.
What do you mean?
Okay, like so like say me and you are playing a 1-on-1. All right, you trying to drive, but I body you, and you don't like it. You get upset. You get all hot and bothered by it. Like you can't do that in the NBA now. Like that's being called a foul. Like take someone like LeBron. LeBron is 6'8", 260. So every time he drives to the basket, he's gonna get hit, and if he doesn't get a call, God forbid he doesn't get a call, because he's like the ref is gonna hear it, he's gonna cry, he's gonna whine, he's gonna do all that.
But TJ, in the rule books of the official rules of the NBA, is that not a foul?
It shouldn't be.
But is it?
It shouldn't be.
it's not the question.
In some cases it is, in some cases it isn't.
It's all about ref discretion in most of those instances. But I think like the hard foul, like that hard foul is actually a little bit. I think that's kind of good for the NBA. Like I don't mind the hard foul every once in a while.
The flagrant
like,
2?
Oh, not the flagrant 2. I'm talking about like maybe like you like just send a message with a foul. Maybe it's like flagrant 1. Maybe like it doesn't. I don't want to get anybody hurt, but I think like if you want to send a message every once in a while, I think that's okay for the NBA.
Now I'm not saying like for players driving and he gets undercut. I'm not calling for any of that. Or like what Andrew Bynum did to JJ Barea a few years ago.
Yeah.
He's driving
Close
down the
line
lane and he just stuck an elbow out. I'm like, dude, you're 7'2". All you gotta do is just jump straight up. Like I'm not calling for any of that. That's causing bodily harm to the fullest, because you're elbowing someone in the ribs. They're in midair and they're not focusing on catching themselves. They're focusing on like, dude, you just elbowed me in the ribs. Like, so they're gonna smack that ground pretty hard.
Yeah, I'm not advocating physical play, like dirty physical play. I think physical play, like good physical play, is. I think that's okay for the NBA.
But the thing is, good physical play ends up leading to dirty physical play. Like, it's the snowball effect. Like
in what
people
way?
are gonna.
In what
it's
way?
because the malice in the palace.
Yeah, people are gonna keep trying to one up each other.
The NBA is still trying to recover its image from Malice in the Palace. Like they're still working on recovering that image.
But literally taking the physicality out of the game is not helping that by any means.
I'm not saying completely take the physicality out of the game. You can be physical within the rules.
I mean, like you take forget these rules.
Oh, we're gonna cut it off. We're gonna cut it there. That's a good. I think we had a good point about the physical play is good in some instances in the NBA, as long as it doesn't cross that line where it gets into the dirty part, like into the dirty element.
I agree with that.
Okay.
So now Kentucky, college basketball. They are going for the undefeated season. Would it be good for college basketball to have an undefeated team go all the way through the season and win the national championship without a single loss on their record.
Going 40-0?
Yes. Let me tell you, Dave.
Would it be good
Yes.
for college basketball?
It would be
Would
great.
and would it be different if it was some other team besides Kentucky? Let's say it was like Wichita State, or it was like a different team.
Then no. If it's Wichita State, then no.
If it's a team that doesn't face high competition teams, then yeah, I'd have to say no. That's not a good thing. But
a couple years ago, when Wichita State did go 30-0, like I went on Twitter, I'm like, okay, Wichita State's 30-0.
Yeah.
Who did they play? Who's in that conference that gives them a legit threat? No one. Kentucky's 30-0 right now, but it's the SEC. Like, is the SEC really known for basketball?
I mean, they're not the toughest. They don't face the toughest competition. They're not facing like Duke and North Carolina every other week, but they have still played some tough teams. And
I think Kentucky's almost hurt because of the way they build their team. Like, I think they're
one and dones.
Yeah, like a lot of ones and dones, and so I think their national image isn't as good as that. Like, if it was like a team that built has all these 4-year seniors all on their team, like all playing at the same time, all growing through the system, and they went 40-0.
Then yes,
I think that would be different. But like, I almost feel like because of the way Kentucky has this reputation of just recruiting players just for this sole purpose of going
one and done.
Yeah, just for going 40-0. So people almost enjoy seeing them not win, as opposed to
that's a valid point.
So let me, okay, women's college basketball, like most of their players are they have to go the full 4 years. Like Brittany Griner, her senior year, they went 40-0. So do you feel like that right there is what should be modeled, because that team was full of 4-year starters?
I don't know if I want to get involved with that part of the conversation.
But let me bring up another point. There's multiple players on Kentucky's team that have been there for a couple years. The Harrison twins, it's their sophomore year.
2 years.
Willie Coleystein, this is his third season. Alex Poitras, he couldn't play.
He's out for the season, isn't he?
Towards ACL. But this is his second or third season. I think third on the team. Yeah, they have Karl Anthony Towns and a bunch of guys off their bench. Dakari Johnson's been there for 2 years. They got a couple guys that.
But with this Kentucky team, I legit think
they're not all freshmen.
They're not. I legit think that this Kentucky team can be like the first team that I've seen have 10 players leave and have 10 players come in the following season and be fine.
Not.
I think that happened with Kansas this season. They had basically everybody on their team left.
Not everyone's going to leave Kentucky.
Like they go 10 deep. You know, they got the blue squadron and they got the white squadron that Calipari subs in. Sometimes 1 by 1, sometimes all 5 for all 5. But he legit, like, these young men of Kentucky can literally say, I'm declaring for the draft. Like, all 10 of them. And be fine.
No, their point guard Ulis, Tyler Ulis, great player, but he's 5'7". He's not declaring for the NBA anytime soon.
No, he's not going to get drafted.
Yeah, Alex, I mean, he's talented. When he's on the court, he's a lightning rod, but in the NBA,
he's a liability on defense, and he's if he gets guarded by bigger guards, he's going to get shut down.
I can see that. And then Alex Poitras, I don't see him entering the NBA draft after tearing his ACL.
He's gonna.
Yeah, but I mean, Coley Stein and Karl Anthony Towns are as good as gone. I don't know about the Harrison twins. I like to see them stay
I'm
another
sure they're
year.
going to go.
This year?
I'm surprised they didn't go last year, to be honest with you.
I was too, and I was happy because they were not ready. Aaron Harrison has a lot of talent. Andrew Harrison, I'm not really sold on yet.
I still can't tell them apart. Like, I really can't.
It's like exactly having the Morris brothers.
If he's hitting a game winner, it's Aaron.
Okay. Okay.
So, final verdict: good for college basketball, bad for college basketball.
It depends on the team.
This specific team. Would you say that it's good for college basketball for this specific Kentucky team to run the table?
I would say yes, because like it hasn't been done on the men's side in such a long time. Like the last team to go 40-0, it was a Kentucky team, but it wasn't like it was back in like '56 or whatever. So like the game was like completely different.
I couldn't agree more with TJ. I feel like it is great for college basketball. This isn't just like college football where you play 11 games and you can go undefeated. So it happens every year for damn near every year for college football. College basketball, you play 30-some games plus tournament. That just seems like a much harder feat.
Not to mention, there's a lot of that lull point in every season, like where you just kind of have like one off game can cost you that streak. So yeah, I think it is good for any team to go run the table in any sport is good for that sport, because not only will they get the coverage while they're running the table, every single game will be, and every single move that they make will be dissected and looked at and
be under a microscope.
So like every play is going to be looked at, and then when they finally lose, that's going to be a big deal too.
Oh yeah,
like especially if they lose in the tournament at any point.
That's what I was getting to.
But if you're Kentucky, wouldn't you almost rather lose a game before you get to the tournament?
I mean, because like in the tournament, it's one and done.
Yeah,
it's one and done. But like that's
like,
what I'm saying.
You only lost one season, but it happened to be the game that ended your season.
Like,
I'd rather not lose.
I'm like they're in the SEC, which is an okay conference.
They have some good teams, you know.
I mean, like Florida's not what it used to be.
Well,
Let's be real. Florida's not what it used to be. Georgia's like. They're okay. They have up and down years. Vanderbilt has up and down years. Like no one in the SEC for basketball gives Kentucky a run for their. Like yes, they've had some close games. They've had close games, like games they probably should have lost, but they didn't. Because
TJ, let me ask you a question: West Virginia or Kentucky?
Really?
Who's gonna win?
Kentucky.
All right. Well, that's all I need to know.
I'll pick Kentucky too. I'm gonna pick them to even run the table as well. We're gonna do when we get closer to March Madness. We'll do a bracket, and like maybe we'll pick the most shocking upsets in our brackets.
Sorry to cut you off. Like early, I saw Kentucky and Kansas go at it, and I was just. And Kansas is explosive. Like they got their fair share of talent. Like they have their fair share of talent too. Like Perry Ellis is.
Yeah.
Perry Ellis is amazing, but like the way that Kentucky shut them down, it's just like.
Yeah.
College basketball. It's like they literally sent them as like, hey man, like we're young, we're coming, and like we not looking back. Like.
And they're taking the crown.
So yeah, it's gonna be an exciting time in college basketball. I think that's gonna do it for us for today on the Triangle. I feel like we got a bunch of good conversations there. We're gonna probably take a week off, so our next podcast probably won't come out for 2 weeks from now. So keep an eye out for it. This is the Triangle signing off.